Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. My name, of course, is John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today, as it is every day, as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, and it's nice being back. I haven't done my show in almost a week. Of course, I had some surgery done in my mouth, big giant piece of metal screwed into my skull. I've been having a very hard time talking. You can probably still, I'm not talking completely normally. I still have inflammation in my mouth. It's going to be there for another week or so. They warn me, but I'm at least good enough to go and do the show again. So thanks a lot for being here, guys. So listen, the first thing we need to get to today is we need to get to the results of the last question of the day, which we did all the way back on Tuesday, but we do need to get around to that. Now, the question of the day on Tuesday was, should Disney reinstate James Gunn as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3? I'm going to be honest with you, the results surprised me. I thought it'd be a little bit closer to this, but overwhelmingly, it looks like you guys said, again, overwhelmingly, yes, they should reinstate him. You guys mentioned at 82.6% of you said that, yes, they should reinstate James Gunn as the director of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Just 11.7% of you said no, he shouldn't. And of course, I gave you guys that third option that said maybe after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Like maybe reinstate him after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Give it a little time to breathe. But overwhelmingly, and thousands of you guys voted, 82.6% of you have said yes, they should reinstate James Gunn. So interesting there. And of course, we've got another question of the day coming up in just a little bit, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now, before we get to the main news stories today, let's go right at the top talking about the weekend box office. Of course, Mission Impossible Fallout opened this weekend. They were saying it was projecting at around $60 million, which would make it the biggest opening in Mission Impossible history. And sure enough, it did. Mission Impossible took the number one spot, opening with $61.5 million. Once again, that is a new record for the Mission Impossible franchise. It is now the largest opening in the franchise history, and rightfully so. It's gotten really solid reviews. It's a good, solid movie. Not my favorite of the franchise, but a really good, solid movie, enjoyable, and it comes in with $61.5 million. Mamma Mia's hanging in there. Here we go again. Comes in at the number 2 spot, jumping over Equalizer 2, taking $15 million for its second weekend. I love that movie, by the way. Equalizer 2 falls down to the number 3 spot with $14 million. Hotel Transylvania keeps trucking along in there, making another $12.3 million. And the opening weekend for Teen Titans Go, hey, you know what? Not bad. $10.5 million on its opening weekend. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think Teen Titans Go would make that much. I'm seeing from some people online, they're saying, oh, why did it only make that much? And they're disappointed. But to me, I wasn't expecting it to make that much. I really wasn't. I did not think it would even make $10 million. And it did. And guess what, guys? It's only got like 50 reviews, which I don't know why, but people aren't reviewing this movie. But it's only got about 50 reviews. But out of those 50 reviews, it's holding like a 90%. Last I checked, it was 89%. So like right around 90%. So I haven't gone to see it. I have no intention of going to see it. I have no plans to see it. But if you've been thinking about it, consider that. It's got a 90% rating. It did better at the box office than I thought it would at $10 million, $10.5 million. So that's pretty good. But let's talk about Mission Impossible Fallout for a second. First of all, the action and the live stunts and all that kind of stuff were incredible. Tom Cruise is an absolute madman. Like an absolute madman. The stuff in this movie is just a glorious feast for the eyes on a lot of different levels. Now, listen. Sorry, I've just got messages coming from people. I still don't think it was the best of the franchise. Like, I still think the one they did, I think, what was it, Ghost Protocol? I think Ghost Protocol is still my favorite one of the franchise. I don't know that I'd put Mission Impossible in my top 2 or 3 of the year. It probably does crack into my top 5. Solid movie, a lot of fun. Tom Cruise is great in it. Henry Cavill's great in it. The cast is really solid. Great action, great like old school, but to the nines. Stunts and stuff like that. Again, Tom Cruise doing most of his stuff on his own. It was a triumph for it. And again, the results are biggest opening of the franchise. Now, we are living in an era where people hear $60 million opening and they don't think it's that great. But that's only because we become desensitized because we're used to hearing things about, Avengers Infinity War opening and it opens with $200 million. And, this movie opens to $120 million. So we hear 60. We got to remember, 60 is a really good opening for most films. And again, for Mission Impossible, biggest opening in its franchise. And I think it's going to have pretty good legs because the ratings are strong. Last I checked, it had 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience response seems to be very solid. People are raving about it. It's getting strong word of mouth. So I think it's going to have some pretty decent legs moving forward. I think you're going to see this being the highest grossing film in the franchise history. Not just opening weekend, but overall. All right. With that out of the way, let's get on to our main topics of the day. Now, how do we select our main topics? It's simple. You guys submit the main topics. How do you submit a topic or a question to be one of the main topics on the John Campea Show? It's easy. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less, or else they're just simply too long and too big for me to even fit on screen. Okay, let's get on with it now with the first official topic today. And the first official topic today comes to us from John DiPietro, who writes, with the Fox shareholders approving the Disney bid the other day, I'm hearing conflicting reports regarding the Disney-Fox deal. Is it now official? Does Disney now own Fox? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, this is once again a great example of a lot of misinformation going around. About 4 or 5 different times now in the past 6 months, people have jumped up and said, okay, now it's done. Disney now owns Fox. It's like, no, they don't. Now it's done. Now they own Fox. No, they don't. Now the most recent one was, of course, last week, the Fox shareholders finally voted, and they did vote to approve of the Disney bid for their company. That clears the way on that level. That's now an open game. So now no one else can come in and submit bids because the Fox shareholders have officially said, we want to accept Disney's bid. However, let's keep in mind that still does not close this deal. This is still not done. It is still not official. We're basically kind of in the same spot we were in back in December. Remember back in December when Disney made their offer and Fox said, we're going to accept this offer. Yay! And there's that big picture of Rupert Murdoch and Bob Iger toasting with champagne glasses. But guess what? It wasn't over, was it? Because then along came Comcast and kind of ruined the party. But even back before Comcast came into it, remember, they were saying, hey, we're still a year and a half away from this being official because we've got, U.S. government approval to get to. We got international government approval to get to. We got to just dot all the I's, cross all the T's, all that kind of stuff. We're still a year and a half away. We're still in that situation. The Los Angeles Times kind of summed it up best. The Los Angeles Times wrote this: the sale isn't expected to be finalized until next year. The two companies must still obtain regulatory approvals from governments around the globe. That includes the U.S. Disney also has agreed to divest Fox's 22 regional sports networks. That's something they still would need to do and show the government how they're going to do it, including Prime Ticket and Fox Sports West in Los Angeles. So basically, here's the gist. We are kind of now in that same holding pattern that AT&T and Time Warner were in for over a year. The government's First of all, the U.S. government, which only gave it provisional approval, and that was only one agency, plus international governments have to go and do their due process, then do all this kind of stuff, and then heaven forbid that one of the governments decide to try to sue it. Remember, the AT&T and Time Warner deal is now in trouble because the Department of Justice have just announced that they're going to be appealing the court's decision to allow that merger to go through, so that drama with AT&T and Time Warner still isn't over, right? Look, if I had $5 that I had to bet on this, I would bet that a year from now, 12 to 16 months from now, we will get the final official word that the deal's done and Fox owns Disney. Or Disney owns Fox, switch that around. If Fox owns Disney, that would be a big change of drama there, wouldn't it? If I had to put $5 on it, I would say that is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. That is the most likely scenario here. This is going to end with Disney owning Fox. However, don't buy in to the hoopla you're seeing when people saying, it's now official, Disney now owns Fox, and blah, blah. No, they don't. They still can't materially be involved with Fox. They still have no say over Fox. They still can't do anything until all this is done. And for the next year, Disney's got to be very careful because you cannot do anything to show collusion. You can't do anything that shows there was conflict of interest. You can't do anything to show there was any antitrust behavior, because if they do, that risks this $71.3 billion deal. For the next year, Disney is going to be completely hands-off Fox. That's what they need to do until all the governments give their approval, and then we're there. And that's where we're probably going to end up. We're going to end up with Disney owning Fox eventually, most likely. But as of right now, no, Disney does not now own Fox. Disney does not now have control over X-Men or Fantastic Four or Deadpool. As of right now, they still do not and probably won't for another year. It's coming, most likely. It's most likely coming, but don't get ahead of ourselves. We're not there yet. Okay, let's move on to the second official topic today. And the second official topic today comes to us from Fredderich Neils, who writes, "Hi, John. It looks like you were right and MoviePass isn't going to last till the end of the year. The service stopped working for a bit because the company ran out of money. The surge pricing is ridiculous. The reverse stock split available, like Mission Impossible wasn't available to some people. At this point, is there any possibility that MoviePass stays in business?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, so there's been a whole lot, just when you thought there couldn't possibly be any more drama surrounding MoviePass, boom, a whole bunch more drama comes. So it starts with, you remember this happened last week, a lot of you heard about this. MoviePass just stopped working because MoviePass ran out of money. They had no money and therefore couldn't process orders, and they froze. Now, they went out, got like I believe the number was like a $6.2 million lifeline influx of cash so they could keep operating. So there was that, not a good sign. Then this surge pricing thing. I've had so many of you guys tweeting to me showing that MoviePass is like surging on every opening movie on its opening weekend. There were some exceptions, but for most part, you guys are sending me these tweets with these graphics and screen captures you've taken showing that surge, $5 a ticket surcharge, $6 a ticket surcharge, and all these things around. And that's pissing a lot of people off because that's not what MoviePass said it was going to be. And then people couldn't buy tickets for Mission Impossible. And then the CEO put out a public statement saying, yeah, from time to time, you're going to find that some movies aren't available. But hey, lots of streaming services sometimes don't get all the movies. So we're seeing it just compiling up. But here is the worst thing. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't care about finance or business or anything like that, and that's fine. But believe me when I tell you, this is interesting stuff. Here's the worst of it. In the email, Frederick mentioned the reverse stock split. What is a reverse stock split? A reverse stock split is when a company takes a bunch of its shares and says, we're going to merge a bunch of shares. So let's say I owned 30 shares of, I don't know, let's see, Gunner Glasses, the company, right? I'm wearing some Gunners, I'm wearing some more Gunners. Let's say I had 30 shares of Gunner Glasses company. Now Gunner says, hey, you know what? Our stock is only at 30 cents. I'm just making this up, by the way. This is a totally theoretical scenario. Let's say Gunner Glasses comes out and says, hey, our stock right now is only worth 30 cents. We need our stock to be worth more. It has to be over $1 for us to stay listed on the stock exchange. So we are going to do a reverse stock split. We're going to say every 10 shares of stock is now worth 1 share of stock. Right? So when they do that reverse stock split, my 30 shares of stock become 3 shares of stock. But instead of each share only being worth 30 cents, each share is now worth $3. So I still own $9 worth of Gunner Glasses stock. When I had 30 shares at 30 cents each, I had $9 worth of stock. Now I have 3 shares at $3 each. It's still worth $9. So I still own the same amount, right? I own $9 worth of stock. But now the stock is worth $3. So Gunner Glasses can stay listed on the stock exchange. MoviePass went from 30-something a share all the way down to about 8 cents. So last week, MoviePass did this thing called a reverse stock split, where they put, instead of 10 to 1, they did 250 to 1. So every 250 shares of MoviePass's parent company, Helios and Matheson, every 250 shares was now worth 1 share. because they needed to get their stock up to above $1. So now the stock was worth $21. On July 25th, their stock was worth $21. Great, because they did the reverse stock split. But here's the problem. On the same day that they did the reverse stock split and got their stock up to $21, the cost of their stock dropped another 50% down to about $10.50, roughly in that neighborhood. So in one day, they did the 250 to 1 reverse stock split, got their stock up to $21, and it immediately in one day dropped down to about $10-ish. And it's gotten even worse since then. Here's the timeline. So here's the MoviePass stock timeline. On July 25th, they did the 250 shares to 1 share reverse stock split, and it got their shares up to $21 per share. By the end of the day, the shares dropped to right around $10. That was just 5 days ago. Today, if you go and look at what the shares are worth now, it's dropped all the way down to $1.23. All the way down to $1.23. That means that a share of MoviePass's company, Helios and Matheson, if they didn't do the reverse stock split, each share would be worth half a cent right now. You heard that right. Right around half a cent. It went from $31 a share to around half a cent. They did the 250 to 1 stock split, so it's about $1.23. I mean, look, between the surge pricing, the announcing that some movies, the most popular movies, probably won't be available to you to use, the fact that they're running out of money, and the fact that their stock shares continue to fall at astronomical rates. I said before, I don't believe MoviePass is going to be around by the end of the year. I'm adapting that prediction to saying I don't believe MoviePass is going to be around by the end of October. I think by the end of October, MoviePass is going to be gone. There is simply nothing positive happening for them. And you know, the movie theater chain said one of the reasons we do not support MoviePass right from the beginning is that MoviePass is an unsustainable business model and they're just going to end up disappointing customers. And that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. MoviePass has basically admitted saying, yep, our business model was never sustainable. So premium pricing for prime theaters, surge pricing for opening weekend movies, all this kind of stuff, and they're still running out of money. So the drama with MoviePass continues. If you've got a MoviePass card still, ditch it. But even if you want to hold on to it, use it as much as you can. And as much as they'll let you, well, maybe you don't want to use it that much because they're still going to surcharge you $4, $5, $6 every time you go see a movie. But get as much use out of it as you can because I do not believe that by the end of October, this thing's still going to be in business. Anyway, that's just me. All right, let's move on to the third official topic of the day. And the third official topic today comes to us from Linus Knight, who writes, my question is, are you surprised we didn't get any new information regarding the DCEU future slate? I expected at least an announcement of directors or cast for the Batman or Flash movie. Getting worried they are going to ignore Superman/Batman solo films and only take experimental films seriously now, like the Joker Origins, Suicide Squad, or something like Justice League Dark. All right, that is one of the interesting things coming out of Comic-Con was in the midst of, and let's be clear here, Warner Brothers won Comic-Con. It was great. Between the Justice League trailer, between the Aquaman trailer, the Shazam trailer, the footage they showed for Wonder Woman, the huge swelling of positive buzz coming out of Comic-Con for Warner Brothers was great. It was a narrative changer. That's what they needed. That's what they got. In the midst of all that, some people are wondering and questioning. I've seen a lot of people bring this up, saying, wait a minute, why are we still not hearing anything about Batman? I mean, it's well over a year ago that they announced new director, all this kind of stuff, and they're not giving us anything? Why are we still not hearing anything about Man of Steel? 2, I should say. Why are we still not hearing anything about Superman? Why was there no word, like real official word, on the Flash movie? Like, what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Some people are looking at that as a sign to be worried at. Let me tell you how I view it. I view it as brilliant. Brilliant. This is Warner Brothers being smart. Because here's why this is Warner Brothers being smart, all right? In the past, Warner Brothers has showed up to these events like Comic-Con, right? The mouth is starting to swell a little bit, guys. Okay, so they show up and they drop, and they announce 18 different movies. We're doing a Wonder Twins movie, and we're doing this movie, and we're doing that movie, and we got this movie coming, and we're talking to this writer about doing that movie, and look at all these movies we're doing. And then all of them fall into the gutter. And it makes them look dumb. And a lot of people online say, look, just stop announcing all this crap until you 100% know for sure this is happening. Now, there's a new leader for the DC cinematic stuff. And that's, of course, Walter Hamada, new sheriff in town. And guess what? They came into Comic-Con and they approached it totally differently than they've approached it before. And I believe it was the smart move. You know what? Fact of the matter is, we don't have anything on Batman in concrete yet. Nothing's greenlit, in concrete, set, ready to go. Everything's done. We're ready to move on. So if we're not going to talk about it yet. Yeah, we're talking a lot about Suicide Squad 2. We are making moves behind the scenes to get a Suicide Squad 2 put together, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? It's not 100% in concrete yet, so we're not going to bring it up. Maybe they do have plans for another Superman movie. But what Walter Hamada's approach seems to be is, but we don't have everything 100% locked in concrete, ready to roll right now. Therefore, we're not going to talk about it. And I think this is a very positive sign for the folks at Warner Brothers. I think this is a very smart move. To me, it is the maturation of what they're doing over there at Warner Brothers, and one of the first signs of the new leadership under Walter Hamada that we're starting to visibly see. They come in there, they're not talking about all the... What are they talking about? They're talking about the movies they've already got in production. They're talking about the movies that are 100% stone-clad, in concrete, in production. Nothing can go wrong that's going to stop these movies from hitting theaters. And those are the ones they're putting their attention on. And that is smart on two different levels. Level number one, you're not throwing out false promises that eventually get pulled and then you make yourself look silly. But the other big advantage of that, the second big advantage, is you put all of the attention and energy and promotion on the films you do have coming out. Why split the attention between Aquaman and what might happen with Batman or what might happen with Suicide Squad 2? Why split that attention? Keep all the attention on the films that are coming out. Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, Shazam. Keep the attention there, keep the focus there, get everybody looking at that stuff, and get the positive narrative going. That's what they did. I think it was smart. I think it was brilliant on Walter Hamada. I think this is the first sign of the new leadership going on at Warner Brothers and their DC films. Now look, let's be clear here. Warner Brothers also won Comic-Con when they came out with their Justice League. I remember when the Justice League trailer came out. And it was fabulous, awesome trailer, and they won Comic-Con that year, again. And I remember all the tweets and the memes saying, oh my God, because the Justice League trailer was so good. Rest in peace, Marvel, ha ha ha, because you're dead now. And then look what happened. So yes, Shazam, Aquaman, these movies could suck. Sure they could, yes. But as far as how they managed Comic-Con, not mentioning theoretical movies that they don't have in production yet that could ultimately just disappoint people and make them look silly again, keeping the attention on the movies they do have coming out, smart. And I'll tell you what, I have been critical of Warner Brothers and how they have managed their affairs years past, rightfully so. But I think what we have seen coming out of Warner, I'm still frustrated as much as everybody that we still have no news on Batman. It's been over a year since they brought on a director. We still don't know anything. But still, other than that, I think in the last number of months, we've seen Warner Brothers keeping their house in order. I think we have seen Warner Brothers acting differently than we've seen them act in years past. I think we have seen them have a different philosophy lately. And I think we are seeing things changing for the positive over at Warner Brothers. Look, we won't know until we see the movies. Ultimately, that's all that counts, is are the movies any good? But I'm telling you what, from a fan's perspective right now, what I'm seeing, I'm liking what I'm seeing coming out of Warner Brothers and the way they're managing their affairs. And if you can keep your house in order and you're good at doing that, Maybe that'll carry over to the quality of your movies as well. Who knows? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I still think right now it's a good sign. Let's see if that faith of mine is rewarded or if it's misplaced once again. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next official topic today comes to us from Michelle Mondale, who writes, "Greetings and salutations, John. One of the movies I've really been looking forward to this year is the new Jungle Book-based film Mowgli that Andy Serkis directed. With the announcement that Warner Brothers has pulled it from the release in October and instead sold it to Netflix, does this say anything about Warner Brothers not having any faith in the film or that the movie didn't turn out well? Thanks." Yes, so for those of you who may not have heard, a few days ago it got announced that the new Jungle Book movie, directed by Andy Serkis under Warner Brothers, not a sequel to Disney's Jungle Book movie, this is Warner Brothers' own incarnation of it. The trailer dropped a while ago. I thought the trailer was quite good. And Andy Serkis himself, the world's greatest motion capture actor and a pretty solid little director in his own right, is directing the film. Supposed to come out in October. They put out the first trailer, and then last week we get the news that, just kidding, not opening in theaters anymore. Now we're sending it to Netflix. Sold it, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but if I remember correctly, Warner Brothers basically sold the rights to the movie to Netflix for $50 million. I'm not even sure. I'm almost positive that doesn't even cover the production costs of the movie. Anyway, they sold to Netflix for $50 million. I believe that's the biggest price tag Netflix ever paid to acquire a movie. I believe. Could be wrong about that, but I think so. Might be wrong. Is this a sign that Warner Brothers just doesn't believe in this movie? I don't know, but I'm going to guess yes. I believe this is a sign Warner Brothers doesn't have faith in this movie. Look, the last time we saw a major studio take one of their major feature films that they were going to release in theaters, last second, pull it from its release date and give it to Netflix instead, was when Paramount did it with that Cloverfield in space movie. Remember that last year? And we watched the movie, and that kind of stuff, that movie would have lost tons of cash. And it was awful. Awful, awful movie. I, unfortunately, because I have all the faith in the world in Andy Serkis, but unfortunately, I see no way to get around Warner Brothers selling it for just $50 million. You're telling me Warner Brothers didn't think they could, make X amount of money with this movie in theaters? Do they really think it's that bad and that impossible to market? And they just didn't think anybody was going to come out to see it that much that they sold it for $50 million and dumped it on Netflix? Oh my God. Really? Because the last time we saw something happen like that was Cloverfield, and that movie sucked and would have tanked in theaters. So look, this could be wrong. I'm not hearing from anybody inside Warner Brothers or Netflix saying, hey man, this movie's really bad. No, I'm not hearing. This is just me speculating based on what we've seen happen before. So it could be right, could be wrong. But it is my speculation nonetheless. We saw it happen with Cloverfield. I think we're seeing it happen again with Mowgli, unfortunately. Because I've been very excited. I thought the trailer was really good. I've been excited for this. But I just don't see how, in any reality, if Warner Brothers had any faith in this movie, and they thought it turned out great, and they thought people would buy tickets to come see it, why? Give me a rational explanation why Warner Brothers would then dump it on Netflix for $50 million. I just don't see any rational explanation for it. Other than they didn't believe this thing could make any money. They just believed no one's talking about seeing this movie. No one's going to come see it. We don't think it's very good. Blah, 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 blah. I see no other rational explanation. Maybe there is, and I just don't see it, but I don't see it right now. So that leads us, guys, to today's question of the day. And the question of the day is simply that. Do you guys believe that Warner Brothers just gave up on Mowgli? Did Warner Brothers just give up on Mowgli? And that is the question of the day. If you look on the description of this video, down at the bottom, you'll see a link to where you go and vote. And the question is, did Warner Brothers just give up on Mowgli? And you got two options. Yes, they had no faith in it. Or no, Netflix was a great option. Yes, Warner Brothers did just give up on it because they had no faith in it. Or no, they didn't just give up on Mowgli. Netflix is a great option. Whatever you guys think, go there and cast your votes. I'm going to take a look right now, even though I just announced it. I'm sure some of you have already casted your votes. I'm just going to check here quick. Waiting for the page to reload. Here we go. It's thinking, okay. Right now, 84 of you have already voted. Right now, 83% of you are saying yes, Warner Brothers gave up on it because they had no faith in it. And 16.8% of you are saying no, they didn't just give up on it because Netflix is a great option. So right now, 83% of you are saying, but that's only right now. That's just the preliminary results. I'm sure we got like 1,000 more to come in. But right now, you guys are saying 83%, yes, they just gave up on it. But maybe you don't agree. Get in there. Let your voice be heard. Cast your vote. And we'll, of course, cover the results of today's question of the day on tomorrow's show. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to the final official topic today. And the final official topic today comes to us from Charlie Crick, who writes, I love the trailer for Aquaman and Shazam. However, am I the only one that feels that if Aquaman fails, the DCEU has failed altogether and has no chance of coming back if the box office numbers are bad? All right, fair enough. Thanks a lot for the question, Charlie. And that is a question a lot of people have been asking. It's a fair question to ask. With the struggles the DCEU has had, with what happened with Justice League, if Aquaman were to come out and tank, no pun intended, and tank, is that it? I mean, does that sign the death certificate? Does that put the tag on the toe and say, it's official, the DCU is done? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because let me paint a scenario for you. All right? Granted, this is all hypothetical, but let me paint this scenario for you. Let's say Aquaman comes out, makes $300 million. Not enough to break even, probably loses money at that point. Okay, fine. But let's say it just makes $300 million, but people loved it. All right? Again, hypothetical situation, but let's just say Aquaman just makes $300 million, but people end up really liking the movie. All right. They still have 2 more movies coming out, Shazam and Wonder Woman 2. While Aquaman may suffer the ramifications and the after effects of what happened with Justice League, perhaps the positive experience and the good word of mouth and the good reviews for Aquaman, that could create some momentum going into Shazam. And that could help Shazam out. So, theoretically speaking, even if Aquaman tanks, if it's a good movie, and people get some positive word of mouth and critics like it and all that kind of stuff, maybe we don't see the benefits of that for Aquaman, but maybe the benefits of that result get shown off with Shazam. And Shazam comes out and makes $450 million. That is profitable. Right? And now let's say people like Shazam, and people get positive momentum going there, and they like it, and critics like it, and that rolls into Wonder Woman 2. And the first Wonder Woman did great. Now the next Wonder Woman makes $900 million. So here's the thing. It's not good for Warner Brothers at all, or the DCU, or whatever you want to call it, Worlds of DC, whatever. It's not good for them if Aquaman tanks. No, there's nothing good there about that. But even if Aquaman tanks, and we don't know that it's going to tank, but even if it did, I believe there's a scenario in which, no, they can still build on that and carry some momentum. They've got 2 other movies already in the pipeline coming out. And if you can get some positive word of mouth, positive momentum, positive fan reaction, positive association with the brand again that people like and enjoy, they're more likely to come back out for Shazam, and maybe you start to see the effects of the momentum there. I still believe that even if Aquaman tanks, the DCEU, Worlds of DC, whatever, could still be working. Could still work. Now, obviously it'd be better if it did make money, but we'll just have to wait and see. So no, I don't think it necessarily means the DCU is done if Aquaman tanks. I don't. I think there's still possible. Now, if the movie comes out and tanks and everybody hates it, that's a different story. But I believe there are scenarios in which it could still work. All right, guys, that will do it for the main topics today. We've got a whole bunch of you guys been sending in some live questions, so let's go over there right now and start taking some of your live questions and see what you guys are wanting to talk about. And the first live question in from the chat board comes to us from Dakota Barber, who writes, Do you find the N-word in Django too much? I've heard complaints, and while the word is not one I'm fond of, I found it to be of historical usage. Well, I mean, this is a topic, that's been talked about a ton ever since Django Unchained came out. Look, it's not just Django Unchained. It's a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies. Quentin Tarantino is not afraid to use that word and use it a lot. He's not afraid of it. To use it. Watching Django Unchained, the word and all that kind of stuff, was certain ways he did that make me uncomfortable? Yeah, certain ways he did it and certain ways he used it made me uncomfortable. But I think we were meant to feel uncomfortable. I think we were meant to not feel very good. That was narratively the purpose of it. And because of a couple things, it served the narrative and the historical context of it. No, I thought it was used appropriately, and it made me feel uncomfortable, but it was supposed to make me feel uncomfortable. So in that, I didn't have a problem with it. I understand why other people would, I do, but for me, no, I think it worked fine. Metal Vegan writes, "Hey John, what do you think of a Puppet Master reboot? Also, I contributed to the John Schnepp's GoFundMe page. I'm glad that it has almost reached its goal. And believe me, and the goal on the GoFundMe page still isn't anywhere near how much they actually need. They still need like a whole ton. So yeah, by all means, please continue to give to the John Schnepp GoFundMe page. The medical bills are astronomical. Puppet Master reboot? Well, I mean, look, I'm generally a guy who I'm all for reboots. I have no problem with reboots. Just got to check something here quick. Please continue. Yeah, I have no problem with reboots. You know my philosophy on reboots. Hey, if you do a reboot and it sucks, oh well. And if it's great, we have another new good movie. And if it sucks, who cares? We still have the original. So I'm all for it. Yeah, I have no problem with it. Actually, it's not going to do much based on its IP recognition. Not a lot of people remember Puppet Master fondly, but it's a pretty cool story, and I think it could be remade into something interesting today. Dakota Barber writes, also, saw Mission Impossible Fallout yesterday. Wow, terrific action, solid story, great performances. Love the story too. Tom Cruise must be a superhuman. Yeah, Tom Cruise is just getting nuttier and nuttier in his old age. Tom Cruise is just getting more and more daring. And again, not my favorite movie of the year, not my favorite movie of the franchise, but a solid, entertaining movie. If you haven't seen Mission Impossible Fallout yet, you should definitely get out there. And yeah, the stuff that Tom Cruise is doing, like the skydiving scene, real. The roof jumping scenes, real. A lot of the scenes he does in here are real, and it's just maddening. Absolutely maddening. AFC writes, still waiting on Ant-Man in the UK, and I couldn't avoid spoilers. Yeah, people are still waiting for Ant-Man to open in the UK. The good thing about the spoilers, though, is this. I really don't think Ant-Man has any true spoilers in it. I think most movies don't have true spoilers, like things that if you know this in advance, it totally and fundamentally alters your viewing experience of the movie. I don't think there's anything I could tell you about Ant-Man that would do that. Honestly. I think I could tell you almost any detail about Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it would not fundamentally undermine your viewing experience of the movie. I really believe that. So I wouldn't worry about it. The good stuff in Ant-Man and the Wasp is the experience of watching it. So I'm telling all my friends overseas who haven't had a chance to see this movie yet, if you've heard spoilers, don't worry about it. None of the things you've heard will fundamentally undermine your viewing experience of the movie. Now, some movies do have plot points that would undermine your viewing experience of the movie if you found out about them in advance. Some movies do, but I think a lot of them don't, and I think Ant-Man and the Wasp was one that doesn't. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, AFC. Dakota Barber writes, meant solid music rather than the story. Oh, no problem, Dakota. I had a feeling you didn't mean to do that twice. No worries about that. SSJR Goku Black writes, I believe Mission Impossible Fallout supplants Man of Steel as the best Henry Cavill film. What are your thoughts on Fallout? Well, I've already kind of given my thoughts. I think it's a solid movie. No, I don't think it supplants Man of Steel as Henry Cavill's best movie. This is not Henry Cavill's movie. I mean, this is Tom Cruise's movie. And Henry Cavill's solid. Look, you all know I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill. Going all the way back to The Tudors, I think he's great. I think he would make a great James Bond. I think he's a wonderful actor. I didn't think this was his best performance. And I don't like Mission Impossible Fallout more than Man of Steel. I still think I prefer Man of Steel over Mission Impossible Fallout. But my overall thoughts of Fallout, it's a thumbs up movie. It's a good movie, entertaining, balls to the wall brashness, and a lot of the stuff they pull off. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. Let's see. Ben Hayusa writes, saw Mission Impossible 6 Fallout yesterday, and it's definitely my favorite one of the series. Also, can't wait to see Christopher Robin this weekend. I cannot wait to see Christopher Robin. I'm seeing it Wednesday morning. So 2 days from now, Ann and I, Ann's taking the day off work just so she can come with me to go see it. Ann and I are going to run over to watch Christopher Robin. Very excited about it. Cannot wait to see this thing. Cannot wait to review it. It is probably one of my most anticipated films still remaining for the year. So I cannot believe, we're talking about a movie about a stuffed bear. Come on. And it's one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I am ridiculously excited to see it. Ben follows it up with, new Venom trailer drops tomorrow morning, John. I had not heard that. I'm really excited about Venom. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm excited about Venom. I like everything I've seen from this movie. I like all the behind-the-scenes stuff that they put together for this movie. Look, this movie could suck. It could absolutely be terrible. But right now, I've got enthusiasm for it. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I think there's a lot of potential upside here. So here's hoping. And Ben, one more time, follows up with, also, I read a post on Instagram a few weeks ago saying that by 2021, WrestleMania may be heading to Canada. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they've done WrestleMania in Canada before. They did do a WrestleMania in Canada before at what was then called the Sky Dome in Toronto. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they did. So it would be interesting if they went back. I would probably go. I would probably go if they did that. Let's see. Jack Reacher writes, in my opinion, Movies Anywhere is great. It allows me to shop for the best deals, and if I buy on Vudu, it appears in Movies Anywhere, Google Play, and more. Love it. Again, yeah, I've talked to a number of people. We talked about Movies Anywhere on one of the companion videos this weekend. And I've had a number of people write to me saying they use it and they really enjoy the service. And that's great. I'm not going to try to dissuade anybody from using it. I personally feel no need to use it for two reasons. One, my particular streaming service of choice is Google Play. That's just the one I chose to use, and I love it. It's great. It's wonderful. It's got everything I want. I've never looked for something that I could not find on Google Play. The second thing is this. What I would hate to have happen, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what I would hate to have happen is that I start using Movies Anywhere. Okay, so I start, oh, look, it's 50 cents cheaper on iTunes, so I get this movie in iTunes. And look, oh, this one's like 5 cents cheaper on Amazon Prime, so I get that one on Amazon Prime. And oh, look, this one's like $1 cheaper on Vudu, so I go get it on Vudu. Guess what? These online startup companies tend to disappear. Then where am I at? Now I've got 50 different movies spread across 5 different movie providing services out there, all because Movies Anywhere goes out of business. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out of business, but why? I don't even, personally for me, I don't feel the need to risk it. Google Play does it perfectly for me. I'm sure if I was using another streaming service, it would work perfectly for me as well. And I don't have to worry about Google going out of business. I would be always a little bit worried if I start buying movies all over the place. It's all because I can do it through Movies Anywhere. What happens if Movie Anywhere closes its doors tomorrow? We've seen that happen thousands of times with these online startup companies. And again, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. And if you're using it and enjoying it, that's awesome. For me, it's not what I want to do. I'm very happy with the service I use, and I never have to worry about my movies disappearing. I never have to worry about my movies getting dispersed all over the place. So for me, it's the way I like to go. But again, Jack, you're not the only one who's been talking big about it. A lot of people are enjoying it. If you're curious about it, you should go check it out. Go check out Movies Anywhere and see if it's for you. Or if, like me, maybe it's... Also, I watch your shows all the time while at work, even though we aren't allowed to be on our phones during... Shh! It is crazy. Going all the way back to my movie blog days. And my original podcast, the Movie Blog Audio Edition, was the very first movie podcast in the world, by the way, was the Movie Blog Audio Edition. It was, ever since going all the way back then, it is crazy how many people constantly write to me and say, I watch your show at work. I listen to your podcast at work. So it is kind of crazy. But so thanks for sharing that with me, Ben. Be careful. Keep it on. Keep your headphones in or keep your volume down. Devontae Brown writes, hearing scary news from employees, A-list will end. No, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. I don't know what employees you're hearing it from, but what I have heard from the chief marketing officer of AMC, AMC A-List isn't going anywhere. They are thrilled with the success they're having with it. So I don't know first of all, Devontae, I'm not saying an employee didn't tell you that. They may have. But I can absolutely guarantee you, the way AMC handles information, employees at AMC do not know. They wouldn't know in the first place. Executives keep a lot of the big information close to the vest, and they do not let employees know. There was a lot of big things AMC did while I worked at AMC that I never knew about until they got officially announced, even when I was still working there. So, number one, those employees wouldn't even know. They wouldn't know. Number two, I've heard from much higher sources that they are thrilled that things are going very well. They're very happy with it. It's been incredibly successful for them. A-List, at least in the near future, is not going anywhere. Mason Barr writes, "Hey, John, how are you? How's the wife?" The wife is great, Mason. Thank you very much. We had a good game of Dungeons & Dragons last night. I got to level 3. My human ranger named Darwin made it to level 3 last night. Learned a new spell called the Zephyr Strike. My wife is actually the dungeon master of our home Dungeons & Dragons game. So a bunch of our friends came over last night, did our campaign. We play our campaign games on Sunday night. So I'm always in a good mood the day after I get to play D&D. Kick It to the King Productions writes, should Fox do Deadpool kills X-Men as a last film? Nah. Number one, nobody would watch it. Nobody would care. The average movie-going audience doesn't want to see a movie where Deadpool goes around and kills their other heroes. So, no. It would. Number one, it would be a nightmare to try to put that movie together. Number two, it would be a ridiculously expensive movie to put together. And number three, you'd be alienating a lot of the audience. So, nah. Well, I get a kick out of the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, like one-shot comics. I get a kick out of those. But you can't make that into a movie. It just wouldn't do well, unfortunately. Let's see. Ryan Irvin writes, I have no idea why, but I'm starting to think the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film could be a surprise hit. I'm actually getting excited for it. You know what? I've been saying that from day one. When you're hearing about these names getting attached, great producer, good solid director, the script was good enough to attract in a Joaquin Phoenix to be in the lead. Now Robert De Niro's talking about being involved. Zazie Beetz is getting involved. Warner Brothers seems to be solidly behind this film. And they have a lot of faith in it already. And they're moving ahead, and it's coming out next year. Good grief, this movie's coming out in 2019. So I've been excited from the get-go, but you're not alone, Ryan. I've been talking to a number of people that initially were like, it's so stupid. And you can understand why people would feel this way. It's so stupid. Why would they have two separate Jokers and all this kind of stuff? Totally understandable. But I'm finding a number of people that had that opinion are starting to feel, maybe this could work. Maybe this will be good. So I've been excited from day one. So you're not the only one who's starting to feel that way. And there's still people who feel like this could be a disaster, and that's understandable why you'd feel that way. But I think you're starting to see a lot more enthusiasm for it. Let's see. Santez Henderson writes, is there ever going to be movement for Nightwing? Well, I'm trying to be very careful about what I can say and what I cannot say. There was movement for Nightwing. And then something happened. And I'm not going to talk about what happened. Just to say something happened. Whether or not we will ever get movement on Nightwing, I don't know. I tend to think we will. Someday, at some point. All I'll say was, there was momentum for Nightwing. And then something really stupid happened. And it stopped. And that's all I'm going to say about it right now. But you guys probably knew that much already anyway. Aaron Strelinsky writes, do you ever go to Gen Con? I do not go to Gen Con, but I'll tell you what. Ann and I have talked about maybe going to Gen Con. I think it's in August, isn't it? Let me just look this up. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gen Con is, I believe it's in 2000. When does it happen? Yeah, it's in August. Gen Con, so it's coming up this week. It's happening in Indianapolis. It's a gaming convention with a lot of emphasis, it looks like, on Dungeons and Dragons. I'm telling you what, even though it's just in a few days, Ann and I are still considering getting on a plane and going out there to see it. And be a part of it and go take it in, just as fans, you know. So I have never been, but Ann and I have been talking about it a little bit. If we don't, I think there's a pretty good chance we may end up going there next year. Okay, guys, just time for 2 more questions. Peyton Williams writes, I genuinely like Superman 3 and enjoy 4 in a so bad it's good. Sounds insane, I know. Man, I don't know, dude. Hey, but look, that's why all film's subjective, man. Superman 3, that's the one with Richard Pryor and he fights the evil computer. I'll just never forget, even as a kid, watching Superman 3, there's this scene where the computer traps Superman by wrapping its own wires around Superman. And like cocooning Superman in its wires. And I'm like, they're just wires. Superman can bust out of this easy. Like, I just remember that at the same time. Just horrible. And the Nuclear Man. And, whoo, those are some specially bad films. But all films subjective. You got a kick out of them. That's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed them, Peyton. James Thomas, last question of the day. Is any news on John Wick 3 and IT Part 2? Really looking forward to both. Glad you seem to be feeling better. Tooth pain sucks. Best regards. Yeah, it's not tooth pain. It's giant metal screw in my skull pain. The fact that they cut open the roof of my mouth to dig out what was left of the broken tooth. Woo, brutal. And I can feel it swelling up even more as I'm doing my talk, but I am feeling better today. Hey, John Wick 3's motoring along. Really, we're in that window of time right now for both John Wick 3 and It Part 2 where there shouldn't be any news. I mean, the movie's happening. The movies are in production. They're on the way. They've got release dates. There's no news at this point is good news for both of those. So nothing new other than what's been in the news the last few weeks about, selfies being taken on set, sharing them out, beginning of production, all this kind of stuff. But we're in a period of time right now where no news is good news. So I'm quite happy with that myself personally. All right, guys, listen, there's still a bunch of questions there that I didn't have time to get around to. Don't you worry. I'm going to copy and paste all of those questions that are still left into my document, and they will get addressed in an upcoming companion video in the next couple of days. So do not worry. Your questions that you sent in will get answered. I simply can't go on anymore because, well, first of all, we're out of time. But secondly, the swelling is starting to build up pretty bad. I need to stop. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Hey, listen, do me a favor. If you're somebody who enjoys watching my videos, and first of all, thank you for watching my videos, but if you're somebody who enjoys watching my videos and you spend some time every month watching some of my videos, do me a favor. Consider just going over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter of the John Campea Show, how being a Patreon supporter keeps this show on the air, and also the benefits of being a Patreon supporter, like audio-only versions of podcasts, the Facebook group, things like some behind-the-scenes video blogs that I do for certain members. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter at that point, awesome. Thank you so much for that. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, Open Mic returns a little bit this afternoon at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Make sure you come back and join me for that, provided that the swelling doesn't go crazy. We should be here for that. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.